Our Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan is due at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry tomorrow, where he will be cross-examined by former Sars head Tom Moyane. It seems hard to believe that Gordhan first appeared at the inquiry more than 2 years ago. Much has changed since then, so let's get some analysis now about what we can expect from tomorrow's hearing. And to help us do that is political analyst Levi Ndou, who speaks to us now. Mr. Ndou, thank you very much for making yourself available this Sunday afternoon. Firstly, your expectations about what we are going to hear tomorrow, because this is about Tom Moyane, who claims that Pravin Gordhan established the so-called rogue unit. And as we now know, that particular unit, it would appear that it was a figment of some people's imagination if we look at the Newzroom inquiry, whilst at the same time, Pravin Gordhan talks about state capture and how Tom Moyane was part and parcel of this phenomena of state capture in our country.
Good afternoon to the viewers at home. I think tomorrow we're going to have a very interesting day. As you have correctly indicated, you have got two individuals who have got different information or different views about what actually happened. And when you listen to what Tom Moyane says on the other side, he is throwing stones at Gordhan, whilst Gordhan is actually doing the same. But at the heart of the information by Gordhan is that we are having the State Capture Commission because Tom Moyane has also played a crucial role in ensuring that state capture does take place. And even though Gordhan has been in the commission quite some time, but one would vividly remember that in his testimony, his emphasis has been that ever since he left Sars, or now that there is Tom Moyane at Sars, things has not been going well. The Sars, in the eyes of the population, is seen as something that is not functioning properly, and he blames that to Tom Moyane and state capture activities. And on the other hand, you have Tom Moyane, who has been saying that you actually established a unit illegally at Sars, and also at the same time, there are a lot of wrong things that Gordhan actually did at Sars. And in the main, he would talk about the rogue unit and also talk about the pension payout that was actually done to Ivan Play. So obviously then tomorrow, we're actually going to get a very aggressive team from Tom Moyane, which will love to prove and ensure that Pravin Gordhan at the end of the day has to provide the information or he actually ends up exposed. And my expectation is that it might not be a very, very good day for Gordhan, if indeed there is some information that they know. But this is going to be quite interesting for all of us, because this is the kind of information that we actually need.
You talk about Pravin Gordhan possibly being exposed at that commission. What might he be exposed for? Because I think this is what is going to be interesting. Here we are, and we have someone who, in the one faction of the ANC, is seen as having been treated with kid gloves at that commission, and this is the faction aligned to whether it be former President Jacob Zuma or Ace Magashule, whichever way you choose to look at that faction, versus the Ramaphosa faction. So I think my viewers will be quite keen to hear, what is it that you think Pravin Gordhan will be exposed to have done?
Well, I think, firstly, remember, nobody would love to see him or herself at the corner, especially in the current situation. But there has been a cry, especially on the part of Tom Moyane, to say there are a lot of wrong things that actually happened at Sars during the era of Pravin Gordhan. And some people have been saying, as you correctly point out, that there seemed to have been a very soft approach in treating Pravin Gordhan in relation to his appearance in the commission and being seen as a darling to some sectors of the factions of the ANC. But the insistence for me of Tom Moyane on cross-examining seemed to be saying to me that there might be something that they want Pravin Gordhan to provide, which they think is very, very crucial in order to save Tom Moyane or to prove that indeed Pravin Gordhan is not the person that some people perceive him to be. So what we need to do is to wait to get the ammunition that Tom Moyane and his legal team have on Pravin Gordhan. But also at the same time, Xoli, I think it's important that we'll also expect Pravin, who is very much prepared for any eventuality, and he'll try his best to prove that whatever people want to come up with against him might actually not be correct. So it will be determined by how questions are structured and how ready both teams are in terms of dealing with the situation tomorrow.
The latest developments, Mr. Ndou, within the Ministry of Public Enterprises, where you had this acrimonious resignation, if it is a resignation of the spokesperson of that ministry and to Minister Pravin Gordhan, that Sam Kokeli, and then the allegations that the chief of staff there may not have had the necessary qualifications for her to occupy the position that she occupies, particularly when it comes to senior members of the civil service. You ought to have certain prerequisites that you must have in terms of qualifications. When you look at that, might that be part and parcel of what Pravin Gordhan will end up defending? I'm simply casting my mind on recent events, and I'm thinking that perhaps this might be something that the other side, the faction that is not aligned to Pravin Gordhan, might want to use to further throw mud, to say, look at what has happened in his ministry thus far. These people are not as clean as they project themselves to be.
If you want to get a mistake on an individual, you actually have to go all out and identify whatever is available in order to taint that person. But also at the same time, in the process of doing so, you also need to be very, very careful, because your net might be too wide, and then end up also catching up other people or the fish that is actually not required. In the government that is run by the ANC, there has been a constant complaint about deployment of people without qualifications, people without proper skills, and people who cannot provide service. That is actually happening across departments. But one is not actually ruling out the possibility of the Moyane team also bringing that onto the table in order to portray Pravin Gordhan as that person who cannot be relied on, as that person who cannot be trusted. But also at the same time, remember, this is a tug of war. Two big bulls are in the ring, and they will try their best to knock one out. And what we'll just have to wait for is that how prepared and how ready is the other team in order to deal with the situation.
Yeah. Final question to you, Mr. Ndou. The commission chairperson, that's a Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. What might we need to look out for in terms of how he treats the cross-examiner versus the person that's being cross-examined? Because he's also in sharp focus here, in particular by the faction that feels aggrieved, the faction that feels that it is a target of this commission?
Deputy Chief Justice is aware that there are people in South Africa who would love to see the work of the commission collapsing. Those that are involved in the commission are also aware that South Africans are eagerly waiting for the completion of the work of this process and get the recommendations and then move to the next level in the fight against corruption. And my expectation for the Deputy Justice is that he should actually do what he's supposed to do and what he actually does best. Keep his cool, allow the process to flow, ensure that the people that are the participants in the commission are actually treated with respect, treated equally, and also ensure that there is no single element of biasness for or against any other person that is participating in the commission. All we should expect from the Deputy Justice is to keep neutrality, be neutral as possible, and ensure that the information flows. And that is exactly what the commission wants, and that will be in the best interest of all of us.
Political analyst Levin Doe, thank you very much for your analysis here this afternoon.